Thank you for tuning in to Mona Lisa Late Night. Grab your glass and let's get started. But before we get there, please go to my website, www.monalisamonroe.com. We've got merchandise, we've got t-shirts, we've got cups, we've got totes, we've got everything you need. We've even got my book, Life After the Diagnosis. So, let's go ahead, grab your glass, bottoms up. Let's start talking.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. And thank you to Late Night with Mona Lisa. Thank you for watching. Thank you for clicking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, thank you. Now, let's first of all talk about this morning. I do apologize. I don't know what was going on with the sound, but that's okay. We working it out, and I think it's fixed tonight. Now, let's buckle down and start with going to the website www.monalisamonroe.com. Please go to the website and purchase the merchandise as well as the book, Life After the Diagnosis. All right. So tonight we've got some authors in the house. Yes, we do. And we are going to do the introduction and we're going to get to know everybody. And then we're going to dive right into the questions that you guys have for these folks. So let's start off with Miss Sherry. Hello, Miss Sherry. How are you doing?
I am great. I'm great. I'm great. How are you tonight, Miss Mona Lisa?
I am so good. I am so good and so excited that you are able to make it tonight. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. And we also have Miss Valencia. Hello, Miss Valencia. How are you?
Hi, good to be here.
Thanks for tuning in and thanks for being a guest on the show. I think Janae, I don't know where she went, but soon as she gets back, we're going to bring her on as well. We had like three of you guys. So, for the audience, please, ma'ams, can you tell us who you are and the name of your book? Let's start with Valencia, please.
Okay, the name of my book is Never Silent. It's a book of poetry. So for the last 20 or so years, I've worked in social justice. And so I've worked for various nonprofit organizations. And as a Black woman in America, it's kind of an impossible topic to avoid.
Oh
So,
my gosh. Yes, yes, and yes again.
right. So, Never Silent, it's a self-published project. It's on Amazon. And it's really about the experience of life at various intersections, whether being a woman of color, someone with a disability, someone raising children, um, how all of these identities play out in the world.
Oh wow, that's deep. Good lordy. I can't wait to dive into that one. All right, and next we have Miss Janae. Can you let us know who you are and the name of your book, please, ma'am?
Good evening, everyone. I am Janae DeVoe Biggins, the author of The Craft of the Follow Up. I am so excited to share with you guys tonight about how I lost 40K in a day by
Ooh,
not
man.
following up. So
Now you
I was,
know we're going to get into that.
oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's the short,
Wow.
that's the Cliff Note version. Yes, ma'am. I'm
Oh
excited
my
to share it
goodness.
tonight.
All right. And then we have Miss Sherry. Please introduce yourself and let us know the name of your book, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. I am Sherry Donahue Brown, and I am happy to be here. The name of my book is The Voiceless Child: 7 Keys to Discovering Your Purpose and Unlocking Your Destiny. Also often we have traumas and tragedies in our childhood, and those tragedies actually get us stuck. And
Mm,
so,
yes.
yes, ma'am. So we are so stuck in our past that we just cannot live in the present, and it prevents us from
Right.
being who God has called us to be in our future. So the voiceless child does two things. It actually helps us to regain our voice, and secondly, it gets us unstuck.
Wow, this is some good stuff here, man. All right. Well, we got some questions for the audience, so you know we're going to dive right in, ladies. First question that we have from the audience is, why did you write the book? Why did you write it? Okay, so Miss Janae, we 40K. Why did you write the book?
The first thing I'd have to say, guys, I pride myself that I have relationships that I've made over across states and countries. And I always say, I don't sell, I build. I build relationships, and I allow those things and relationships to, they become currency. They either become currency, and then one part of that, it becomes a friendship, an association. You're able to really go through that process through life and through business and find out what those relationships are. I wrote
Wow.
this book because to show people, no matter what phase of business, ministry that you're in, you cannot stay off guard and not follow your processes, not follow up with those processes, sticking to contractual agreements, and understanding that despite how you might feel about me or the relationship we have, business is business. And we have to come clean and true and dot every I, cross every T when it comes to that, especially when you're in charge of someone else's resources that they trust you.
Wow.
And so
That's
I wrote the book to show people, hey, if you never followed up, if you don't know how to follow up, if you do not know where to begin, this is where you begin. And so it goes
mm,
step by step, different things and phases through business to help you stay on track and to get you back to thinking different areas in business and in ministry, how you can follow up. So that is why I wrote the book. So if I know if I lost 40K, I wonder how many other people out here in the world, across the country, how much money are they losing daily by not following up with their customers, without
I
following
know.
up with their friends, without following up with those who are dear to them, and those who might have just, lost base. I call
Right.
it top line revenue. You're losing top line revenue every day you don't pick up that phone. Every day you don't make a connection with someone. And so
Wow.
that's
Mhm.
that's why I wrote the book.
Wow. Wow. So Miss Sherry, why did you write the book?
Well, so for a couple of reasons. First of all, I didn't want to write the book. So I didn't want to, because I'm a private person and I don't like talking about my personal business. And I just don't feel like my personal business is nobody else's business. So I didn't want to write the book. So I feel like in writing the book, it was an unction from the Holy Spirit who told me to write the book. And I
Mm-hmm.
wrote the book. So when I was finally obedient, I wrote the book really to be a blessing as unto others. Because in the book, I talk about how my voice was silenced as a child, um, being a child that in foster care. I grew up, I was taken from my family and I was placed into foster care. Um, all during my childhood, I was a ward of the state.
Wow.
So I wasn't able to really make a decision. All decisions as a child and everything were made for me. And so fast forward as an adult right now in my life, I'm a state provider. So now I'm making all kinds of decisions. I sit on boards, you know, and so God is like, no, you need to tell people about what you did and how I did this. This is not about you. This is about me. And so the purpose is to um, actually help us to get unstuck from our childhood. I mean, and yes, it was traumatic. Being taken as a little girl, 5 years old, had never been experienced and exposed to going to school, even having my hair combed, sitting in a
Wow.
bathtub. And so until, to now moving forward, I am, and I actually, in my agency, I actually place people. So it's just like the irony
Of
of
it all.
of it all.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. I see that. I definitely see that. And Miss Valencia, why did you write the book?
I've been writing poems since I was about 11 years old. And what happened? So I never really had an intention of publishing anything. I made a new friend who she's an artist, and she read one of my poems one day, and she says, "You're a poet." And I
Ah,
was kind of like, "No, I write the occasional poem." And she said, "People really need to read your work."
mm-hmm.
And so I write on a variety of topics all of the time, but she felt at that point that so this came out September 1st of 2020, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
and sort of given where we were as a country and what was happening
Oh
on
yes.
the national stage with people of color being murdered by the
Oh
police and all of that, it felt urgent to have these particular poems come out. Um,
wow.
Wow.
so that was the reason for that selection. I've actually written more than 1,800 poems. So that's a very small sample of them. So I'm going to
Wow.
have another collection coming out soon.
Wow. You know, I used to
That's amazing.
dabble with it. I used to dabble with poetry, but you talk about 1,800, baby, let me sit down somewhere. The very
Okay.
first
Like that's not dabbling.
shoot, that's like intentional for real. And I was saying, you really don't know that you're going to write a book sometimes. You
Mhm.
just start writing, and then you start thinking, maybe I should put this together, and then when you start putting it together, it just starts chronologically working. It just starts formulating on its own. And at least that's how I started doing it. I started journaling. That's how it all started. You just start writing it down. And then one day you start thinking about, you know what, I want to make a footprint in the world. I want to leave a legacy somewhere, and I
Yeah.
want to help somebody. So I totally get that. I totally get that. What do you think your book, how do you think your book will make a change? Sherry, you just stated it. You think your book would make a change for people who maybe have went through the same thing, right?
Yes, ma'am. My book, actually, I have received several testimonies from people who have actually read my book, and they've actually reached back out to me saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how stuck I was. I didn't realize where I was. I didn't realize that I stopped talking about
Mhm.
anything, you know." So I really the change that I really want to make is for the direction that you're actually headed. Most of us
Yeah,
are stuck and we're not headed in any direction. I really
right.
want you to make a legal U-turn and actually
And
change the
actually start doing
direction of your destiny.
yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
that's, I think that's what it's about now. You know,
Yeah.
really being impactful in the world because
I think that's
everybody,
what it's all about. Everyone's driven by cause now, or how does it make you feel? Do you feel like you're being impactful? And like Valencia was saying, these poems, oh my goodness. So, Valencia, can you say that your book will make a change in someone's life or journey?
I think so, because a lot of it is about stuff that some of us don't like to sit with, right?
Ooh.
And I've had people reach out to me, people who are not people of color, who were born here, who don't have that immigrant experience, who
Mm.
don't really understand why people have to keep talking about race and are very uncomfortable with that. And so they read what I have to say about it, and it makes them think about it, and it makes them sit with it, and it makes them think about personal responsibility. And so I've had people reach out to me about that, saying, I'm now starting to understand why this is a thing, why this is part of the public discourse, and what can I do about it, and what can I do with this guilt I'm suddenly having about all of the privilege that I have.
Oh,
So
up.
the answer to that is you have to get active, and you have to talk about it, and you have to address it wherever you see it. And, since a lot of the time conversations that affect us are being held without us, then you have to make sure that that doesn't continue. You have to make sure that we're represented and that we're heard. And I think that's significant.
And that was the main question in 2020, and also in 2021. They were saying, well, how can I help? How can I, what should I do? When during the Black Lives Matter movement, Caucasian, white, they were like, well, what can I do? What can I do? So Miss Janae, you can definitely help some people save some money, huh?
Yes. And some relationships at the same time. That was the main thing. Anytime everyone picks up my book, they're like, what are we crafting? A new way, or a rejuvenation or a revival of how you build relationships. I'm trying to help people stop selling. Oh, you got to buy my shirt. Oh, you got to buy my cup. Oh, you got to buy my book. No, you need to hear this. You need to apply this to your life. There's something in here for you. And God used me to give this to you, to use it as a tool. And hopefully you find something in there to impact how you do business, how you do ministry, and how you build relationships. We see Johnson & Johnson, you hear the name, Sears and Roebuck, Marriott's, all Hiltons, these families, they didn't build a family legacy just by sell. Yeah, they knew someone was going to need a room to sleep in. Yes, they knew someone wanted to have an experience, but they built relationship after relationship, and people bought into their vision because of relationships. And it started because someone decided to follow up and help them to grow and continue to grow their legacy and have those legacy relationships. You hear people, oh, I only do business with Johnson & Johnson. I know their family for years. I only do business with Marriott's, because they built that relationship, not because someone was sold. They built the relationship first. And that's the goal that we hope that they can do.
And people say you do business with people you like. You know what I mean? You connect with people you like. You don't connect and do business with people who you don't like, unless there's a situation there about some money. Some big money. But I'm going to say this. I want to, with this question here, basically, you get started by getting started. Wouldn't you guys agree to that? You just have to, first of all, put it on paper. You know what I mean? Would you say that that's the case?
Whew. Want me to answer first? I'm sorry. I was busy laughing.
That's how I got started. I got started with a journal. So how would you say to get started, Valencia, if someone wants to really start writing a book based on poetry? How did you get started?
The most important thing, as you said, is to start writing. I always have my notebook with me. I write on my phone. When I have 2 young children. My eldest is about to turn 10 next week. His little brother is 8. And it takes really being intentional about your time. You know, as a mother with a full-time job and all of that stuff, you have to really be intentional to make time for the creative side of you, right?
Right.
And so I think sometimes as women, we tend to put ourselves at the bottom of the priority list. And, you know, so just making the time to say that I'm going to put pen to paper. I'm going to get my thoughts out. I'm going to give myself time to think, because when you have really small children, you don't have that.
You really don't.
Right. So that was an important thing for me. And I've been telling other women for just as long, you know, about how to do that, because we forget sometimes that we have other contributions to make in the world, you know, other than
I like that.
Immediate relatives. And so, you know, making the time for that, remembering what was important to you, perhaps before you got married, before you had kids, making a priority for that in the world, you know, like those parts of you are still valuable. And sometimes we forget and we push things down. And then, you know, what happens when the kids are a little more grown and they don't need you so much anymore? You know, there's a sense of loss, I think, for some people that comes with that. So for me, at the same time that the kids were starting to like develop their own interests and not need so much of mommy, it made time for me to do this. And it was a good way to say, like, okay, you know, we made a deal after a while that I could get 30 minutes to myself.
I get it. I'm telling you.
Every night. And it was the biggest thing. And it doesn't mean that that's going to be the most productive 30 minutes of your day or anything, right? But it was more about the statement that I need time.
Yeah.
And I deserve time, and being able to say that without this like guilt about, oh, I'm not mothering every second of my day, you know?
Yeah.
So that was where it started for me. It just, you know, really with acknowledging that my writing was important to me and I needed to make space for it, and doing that.
Yeah, that's totally the case. Miss Sherry, would you agree with that? I know, because I know you're a caretaker as well. So how did you get started?
You know, in the middle of the night.
Oh. Okay.
You know, because my book is now 5. And so, you know, as a wife, a mother, caretaker, I mean, and having the business, I mean, that is, my time was truly my time, my 30 minutes a day, like you were saying. But that was my time for something else. I think when I wrote, it was always 1 or 2 a.m.
Wow.
And so it was like once I would start, I just couldn't stop. And then it was like probably about 3:30 or 4. That would be it. And then I would go back to bed.
Oh my gosh. How many hours would you sleep? 2, 3?
Probably just about. Yes.
Oh, wow. That's dedication for sure. What about you, Miss Janae? How did you get started?
Listen, these ladies are my kindred spirit, because I have 2 small ones, trying to avoid them right now.
Is that why you're on mute?
You see my facial expression, like,
I keep thinking mine are going to come running in here.
oh, got the caution tape up and they still don't pay attention. No, that's how I got started. You know, that single mom, trying to get them to understand, give them everything, building someone else's dream. And it's like, I want to build mine. Sherry, I know all about them 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I think that was God really waking me up saying, you either going to do this now and do it. But it was a healing thing for me. So it was like, Janae, you got to birth this. It happened a long time ago. And it was bits and pieces of that. And finally saying, you know, I remember those 30 minutes. And it was, hey, take full advantage of it. Be consistent. And you'll see.
Yeah.
My editor was saying, be consistent. You know, people were like, when you going to birth this book? Be consistent until the final first phase, as you all know, first phase of turning it in, taking that deep breath and saying, here's my baby.
I know.
Wipe it all, clean it up, and give it back to me.
Oh my gosh. That's one of the here's another question. What are some lessons learned in the journey of being an author? Well, we basically sort of covered that one. One of the lessons is you have to take some time. You have to give yourself some time to write it down. And then you have to be able to be consistent with it. For me, I would have to write every day. If I said to myself, not today, that day would turn into a week, and then the week would turn into a month, and then you got writer's block. But if you just sat and just continued to write, even if it's a couple of sentences, just continue to write it down. So that would be a lesson that I would say for me. And Miss Janae, you said it as well. Being consistent. Miss Sherry, Miss Valencia, would you guys say the same thing?
Yes, ma'am. I would. Be consistent, get it done, but also, why do you want to become an author? What is your purpose? I really think it's like, I'm an author. Yes. Now what? What are you going to do with this?
True.
So you have to have a plan. It's like, it's one thing. It's like, okay, so are you just marking this off a list? Are you just checking a box? What are you doing? What is your purpose for becoming an author? And it's like, because my friend is an author. No, have a plan and stick to the plan and make sure that is your plan. That's not your friend's plan.
Yes, definitely. We got a few comments. We had someone say they love poetry.
Yay!
Yay! And you know what, Sherry, you really struck something there, because if your main goal to writing a book is just to say you're an author, that's really not, you know what I mean? That's not beneficial to the world.
Not beneficial.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good point there. Very good point. I totally agree with that. Next question was, what is next for you as an author? There you go, Miss Sherry. What's next? So before I let you, off the hook, Miss Sherry, what was next for you after you wrote the book?
I was actually hit or miss, but right now I'm intentional.
Okay.
I have to go back and really get with God. And so right now I'm doing my coaching and on destiny diving. And so where I work with individuals in one-on-one by Zoom, and we just really go deep destiny diving. We come up with what's actually stopping you from being all that God has called and created you to be. And so that's what's next for me.
That's good. Miss Valencia, what's next?
Well, my second collection is called Love Disambiguations, and it's about love in all its variety. And I hope to have that out before the end of the year. And what I'm currently working on putting together is a collection on gender-based violence. So that relates to some personal experience of mine. I've been a volunteer in the field in New York City for the last several years, and I've had a chance to make connections with a lot of the agencies that do the work. And so, I have some thoughts on how the policies that they're putting into place affect survivors. I have definitely ways that you want to encourage survivors and encourage the advocates who do the work, because it can feel kind of hopeless,
Wow. Yes.
So that's the work in progress.
Wow. Okay, Miss Janae, what's next?
I'm sitting in between both of that. Miss Sherry reminded me to be intentional.
Yes.
It was like, I got to get this birth. And it's like, I missed my marketing plan. I wrote a book. I hope it helps. So
Right.
now this is the year of being very intentional. I host 14-day sessions to help people to get back following up, putting strategies in place to help people, businesses, and ministries. A lot of times you go and you walk into a church or an women's empowerment, and they're like, "Oh, we're so glad you're here," and then you don't hear from them anymore until the next event. You know,
You are so right. You are so right. And I'm like going, why get my number if you're not going to call me back?
Right, right. And so I help with that. I help companies and ministries put systems and strategies in place to craft their follow-up. If it's a new members class, if it's pairing them with someone that has like and similar things that they've been through, if it's putting things on automation as business owners, a lot of things we can put on automation for free. To help with our follow-up, you know. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm really breaking down my book, breaking down those things, and working with businesses and ministries to really show them that they can craft a follow-up and not be embarrassed that they forgot to call somebody back 3 months ago when they wanted a quote, or someone said, "Can you pray with me?" And they said, "I'm praying for you now," but you didn't pick up the phone and pray. And they probably still need that same prayer. And just really, you know, putting things in perspective. So that's what I'm working on. That's what's next.
Okay, well, ladies, I'm about to put you on blast one more again, as they say. I want you to pull out your books. Each one of you pull out your book so they can see what it looks like on the cover. And then I want you to read me something that's going to pull those folks in. You know what I mean? Whether that's the back of it, you know how you have the back of the book, you know, this little portion here. Oh, this is my book, by the way. Woo. So I want you to read something for the audience, you know, to try to pull them in to see if you can, you know, I don't know, a little snippet or something, and a poem or some sort. Valencia. So we can get a taste of what you got. Who wants to go first? Don't make me call you out now. Okay, I'll go first. How about that?
Perfect.
All right, here we go. And this is from Life After the Diagnosis. I wrote this book during the journey of me recovering from leukemia. I am a leukemia survivor. I was diagnosed in 2010 and started journaling, and this is the result. And it took me 6 years, so be consistent. You ain't lying. Okay, here we go. The doctors looked at me and said, "This is not a regular case of hemorrhaging." The doctors performed a DNC to see what was causing such masses of blood loss. They thought I lost a baby. I was losing so much blood. With the lack of information or past experiences, I finally began to realize how bad of a situation I was actually in. I remember thinking how this situation was borderline life or death for me if the blood could not be stopped soon. I began to pray fervently, and I could feel God's heart listening to me. I started by saying, "Lord, if you bring me through this one," you know that phrase, if you help me through this one, Lord, I promise I will not mess up anymore. I promise not to go down that wrong path again. I was making some deals with the Lord. So that is just a piece of what's going on in here. And that moment was when I was actually in the back of the EMS traveling to the hospital. And that's when me and God had our one-on-one. And I said to myself, in that moment, you either believe God or you don't. And so, yeah. Y'all got mighty quiet on me. Did I pull you in?
Definitely.
Yeah. All righty. Who's next?
I'll go next.
All right.
Go ahead.
It's a portion from our introduction. It says, "Whew, it's a hard pill to swallow when companies pour into a vision and people are connected to that vision. They went in to solve a problem and their vision came to life with the help of people. Think about where you are positioned now in your business and career and how important people are in that process. Can you go without people in your business? I'm not talking about a one-man show. Who would watch that? How are you approaching your business and the people connected to it during the crazy pandemic? How are you genuinely staying engaged with them? I am confident in what I am sharing within these pages. I hope it will encourage you to alter the way you connect and retain your legacy relationships.
I love it. I love it. Love it. All right.
Okay. God blessed me to be a parent, and I think that God gave me the ability to press and and to turn my pain into the purpose of being a better parent for my children. I have been able to teach them the skills, abilities, and acceptance that they need to be successful young African American men in today's society. As we press to our purpose through our pain, it doesn't matter if you are a parent, a single parent, a grandparent. Stop inflicting the pain of our past onto our children. Change their pain into the purpose so that they can become better people in the purpose that God has for their lives.
Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. All righty, Miss Valencia.
This is called Scars. She has scars on her hands and neck and face that speak of bones that cracked under fury, of scalding liquids hurled in rage, her entire being a testimony of someone else's intent to harm. I want to offer witness or solace or justice or other things that are not entirely mine to give. And so I hold back and sit with silent thoughts of those whose scars are less clear or show not at all.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Woo! That gave me chills. I love that. Ladies, you all are fabulous. Those books are amazing. So before we go, I want you to let everyone know how to find you, how to get your book, how much it is, whatever. Let everybody know where to go to purchase your book. Let's start with Miss Janae.
You can find The Craft of the Follow Up on Amazon under the name Janae, Janadevoe. It's here on the screen. You can also find us on social media, anything from Googling The Craft itself, or you can go to The Craft of Follow Up on Facebook to be able to sign up for our next class session that we have. It's going to start on the 20th. So you can connect with us there on social media as well. We look forward to connecting to you and getting you to follow up.
Oh my goodness, yes, we need to follow up. Yes, I'm gonna find you too. We in Savannah? That don't make no sense. None. All righty. Miss Sherry, how do we find you?
Yes, ma'am. So let me see. You can get my book on Amazon under the Voiceless Child, Sherry Donahue Brown, or on my website, DestinyByDesignInstitute.org. And you can follow me Facebook at Destiny by Design Institute or Sherry Donahue Brown.
All righty. Miss Valencia.
My book, Never Silent, is on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, and I am on Instagram under Valencia Daniels Writes.
You know, I was trying to get in Barnes and Noble. How did you do that?
Oh, I'll show you after this. You just you can self-publish through them. So that's why I have my ebook up with them. But you can also print publish through them.
Really?
Yes.
Man, I think was it me and you, Sherry? We was trying to find out how to get in Barnes and Noble because I was like,
we were.
Man, awesome sauce. All right, well, ladies, thank you for coming on the show tonight, and thank you for sharing your hearts with the audience as well as your merchandise. Now, I don't want to lose connection with you guys, so don't leave. I'm just going to take you backstage. The evening show is usually about 30 minutes. We went a little over, but it's all good. It still tastes good. It's all good. So I don't want to lose the information that we just shared. So when we go backstage, do not hang up the phone, okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. And thank you for being on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, you got the information from everybody that came on the show tonight. Please go to my Facebook page, the Mona Lisa Monroe Morning Show. You can also go to Late Night with Mona Lisa, and all of this information is going to be on the Facebook page and the website. So check it out. Tonight. Don't wait till tomorrow. Okay, you can wait till tomorrow. But anyway, don't mess around and leave without getting this information from these ladies. Thank you again. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you next week.